At the beginning of Stranger Things, there was one character who everyone thought was going to die pretty much every single season so far, and he has yet to die. But I think season 5 might be his time, and of course we're talking about Steve Harrington, the guy who went from a bully, a hated character, to an absolute hero and one of the most loved characters in the entire show. I think this is going to be a very convincing video for a lot of you who don't think he's going to die, because there's a lot of evidence that proves that he would be a good kill / easy to kill off. So before we get into the video, guys, be sure to drop like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you're new here, like I said, subscribe, join my Discord down below where you can talk to me about TV shows every single day. You can find that in the description. I stream Fortnite on Twitch every single day as well. And without further ado, let's get right into this sad but understandable video. So the first point I want to talk about is the creator's original intent. Now, if you guys didn't know, Steve Harrington was actually originally intended to die in season 1 of Stranger Things when he was a bully. That was the original writing, but the Duffer brothers saw how Joe Keery was on set, they saw how good of an actor he was, and they decided to keep him in the show. And they eventually wrote him as a character where everyone fell in love with him, and he became a fan favorite. So I feel like killing him off in season 5, going back to their original intentions, when every single person thought he was going to die in season 2, season 3, and season 4, finally killing him off in season 5 when everyone thinks he's safe would be like the perfect heartbreak death, but also a full circle moment going back to their original intentions with the character. I think it would be a beautiful death, especially if they wrote it right. There's a lot of ways he could die, and we'll get into that as well, but one way I want to say right away is just saving the kids, saying you guys don't need a babysitter anymore, sacrifices himself for all the kids, and they live happily ever after because of Steve Harrington. I feel like that would be just an amazingly written ending. And sort of adding on to that point, Steve was written as this selfish jock, but now he's like this selfless protector. So I feel like it just wraps up his character so well for him being that selfless protector in the very end and being a hero to save the kids, save Nancy, save Jonathan, whoever it may be, to sacrifice himself. I feel like that's the perfect wrap up for his story. The second point I want to talk about is simply that the Duffer brothers need to kill off someone, and someone who's actually had a big impact on the show. If they just go away with killing Murray and like Karen, that isn't really going to be the best possible ending. They need to kill someone off who actually means a lot to the show. I'm not saying Murray and Karen don't mean anything to the show, but let's be honest here. They've teased killing off main characters multiple times. Hopper, Steve with the demo bats last season, 11 multiple times. Like they've teased killing off main characters and they have yet to do it. They need to kill off one main character in season 5 at least. And like I said, Steve is an easy target and an easy one to just wrap up his story. If they don't do that, if they don't kill off a main character, then there's going to be a lot of people complaining in the Stranger Things community. And I'm not gonna lie, I will probably be one of them, because I don't want people to look at the show like, oh, that's the show where they never killed off any main characters and they only killed off side characters. Like, what type of ending is that? Like, that's what people are gonna say about Stranger Things if they don't, finally bite the bullet on some of these loved characters. I know it sucks, but to have an amazing story wrap itself up, you gotta have an amazing and heartbreaking ending, you know what I'm saying, in my opinion. And it doesn't have to be at the end of the season either. It could be at the end of volume 1 or something. Steve dies. So that's my opinion, but they need to kill off someone, and Steve is one of the easiest characters to choose. Another easy reason to kill off Steve is because he's not really tied to anyone. He doesn't really have any close family. He was never really close with his parents. As you can see in season 1, when they had that party at his house, his parents were gone on vacation or whatever, and he just had people over. He was sort of that spoiled kid who never really had his parents around, so he just had the house to himself. That's why, he was the jock in high school. So he doesn't really have any, not only family, but no relationships. Like, he's not dating Nancy. He's not dating anyone else. He doesn't have any other love interest. So the only people he cares about are the kids. And if those kids are in trouble, Steve's gonna step in there and take matters into his own hands. So that's the way I think about it as well. Like, he's a character that doesn't really have many family ties, many relationship ties. Like, yeah, the kids are his family, but they're probably gonna be in trouble. So that's another reason why Steve Harrington would be an easy character to kill off. This is gonna sound like crazy depressing, but I feel like a way that Steve could die is where he accepts his, a lot of people say his family remarks. Like, he wants to start a family, he wants to have a kid, or he wants to have like 6 kids with a wife and everything. He talked about it with Nancy. He has this family dream. I could see him dying and then someone saying like, what about your dreams about your family? And then him saying, I already have my family. I already lived that dream because the kids were his family. I feel like that could be a way that Steve could die. He could just accept it when he's dying. He could just lay there and realize like, I already lived my dream. I had my family. I had everything I wanted or whatever. And then he just dies by sacrificing himself for my family. Or like, you know, Dustin leans down to him and says, what about your family? And then Steve says, you were my family. And that's it. And then the screen cuts black. I could see Steve dying like that. I just thought about that. I know that sounds extremely depressing, but I feel like that would be such an emotional yet insanely amazing ending. You know what I'm saying? Like him saying that to Dustin, I already have my family, or to Nancy, I already, you know, you guys are my family, all that stuff. Like I feel like that would be a perfect ending for his character. There's so many possibilities to write a death for Steve that would be so depressing, and it would grab at so many different hearts that everyone I feel like would be accepting of it. They'd be like, man, I'm so sad that Steve died, but he died in such a heroic way. It was so awesome. It was perfectly written. His character arc was amazing. One of my favorite characters in the show, all blah, 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 blah. I feel like people would love it if they wrote it the right way, and there's so many different ways to write the ending for his character. Also, his death will undeniably have a huge impact on the other characters in the show, like Nancy, Robin, Dustin, etc. That if he dies in like volume 1 after 4 episodes or 6 episodes, whatever it will be, if they do have 2 volumes, then maybe that could, you know, have a big enough impact on those 3 characters that they do something in the later episodes that maybe one of those people sacrifice himself, or they come up with this heroic plan and honor Steve, and that's how they beat Vecna. Like they could write it in so many different ways, and you know, having that impact on Dustin and him maybe not being so depressed and instead, you know, inspired by Steve using that energy to beat Vecna. Man, I just feel like it'd be the perfect character to kill off. I know I'm like begging them to kill Steve at this point, but I feel like if they kill like 11, that ruins the story, in my opinion. I don't want that. And they could kill off like one of the kids, but the kids are like the main group. Steve's just that main character who's sort of still on the outside, you know. Man, I don't want him to die like necessarily, but if they're gonna kill off a main character, I would rather it be him, and maybe, you know, maybe they kill off Jonathan or something like that. But it cannot. I don't think it can be one of the kids. I really don't think so. I mean, because they're the heart of the show. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it can be 11, and I don't think it can be one of the 4 kids. I really don't. So maybe Max, I guess, but that's kind of like she's already sort of dead, you know, to be honest with you. I don't see Max dying. But yeah. And one last thing, the foreshadowing in season 4 when he almost died to the demo bats could be a foreshadowing of like, okay, you guys need to enjoy Steve in season 4 because in season 5 he is dead. That could have been a moment where the Duffers wrote that in and were like, okay, let's foreshadow Steve's death somehow, some way, and have him fight these demo bats and make him on the verge of death, make everyone scared so they think he's safe after he lives, but in reality he's not. That could definitely be a possibility as well. But you guys get the gist. You guys get why I think Steve is going to die, or why he should die, because of the heroic sacrifice, the wrap up of his story, the fact that they need to kill off a main character and he's not tied to really anything or anyone. Let me know what you guys think about these reasons, and if you think Steve should die or will die, or if you think I'm crazy, if you think he should, someone else should die in his place, let me know in the comments. A lot of people said Jonathan, but you know, I don't really know. I really do think it's gonna be Steve, and maybe they only kill off Murray and Karen. If you guys think they're just gonna do that, let me know in the comments. I hope they don't. I hope that they gotta kill off a main character. They have to, for the sake of the story, for the sake of the show. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, I have my Discord in my description, my Twitch in the description. I appreciate all love and support. Every single time I want to stream on Twitch, I have to post a YouTube video. So if you see me posting a YouTube video, I'm most likely streaming on Twitch later in the day. I've made that requirement for myself. So I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.